Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of the DriveLife Podcast by carevents.com. I'm here today with Matt, the becoming very much a podcast regular, and Alec from the Motorist. Thank you for joining us. So before we get into it, just thought we'd tick off a few bits that we've got going on. We're into April now, so car season is well and truly here, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've also
got to have my phone now. There's that much going off.
We've got a lot going on. So I've managed to also remember the Lego supercars. I vowed about a year ago to have one on every podcast, and I've forgotten them every podcast since. So they're back now.
Don't they do Mustang ones?
I think they might do. But I don't have one yet, so we'll make.
I tried building an Alpine one.
Yeah,
tried building an Alpine one, but the bricks kept falling off it.
Well,
French.
Obviously, SCUK is a club that everybody knows that we're quite involved with already. We've got a lot coming up this year for that. Thought we'd just cover off a couple of the tours that we've got going on that have still got space on them, because they're going to be a hell of a trip, and I'd love to fill them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had my first one 2 years ago. That was Europe, which I'm glad we're running again. But we're starting with France.
Yes,
which is a new one for us this year. Starting in June. So we've got 3 groups on that one, running with 3 ambassadors. So it'll be, an interesting trip, won't it? Yeah. It's the first one we've done. So where are we heading on that then?
We're heading to get the pronunciation right, the Vosges Mountains, Vosges, I think. Vosges Mountains, 4th to the 8th of July.
Yeah.
So that's a tour for sports and supercars. We're going from Eurotunnel. We're going to stay the first night in Reims, however the correct pronunciation of that is. Stay there in an automotive-themed hotel, and then head over to the Vosges Mountains for 3 days driving there.
Good weather. Weather. Dry roads.
I'm looking forward to this one, because first time that we've done this route, first time we've done that area of the world. One of our good club members, Hanesh, has driven that area before himself, and he's not shy of pacey driving, let's say. So I know the routes are going to be great.
Yeah.
So that's the first one of the year. There's still spaces on that. So if you own a sports or supercar,
get signed up. Because and then we move on to Europe more generally, don't we? After that, which we call our Alpine Tour.
Yeah.
Now, but that was our previous European one. So that's again, that's July time.
First week of July.
Yeah. So
7th.
3 groups again. 3 ambassadors. So, I mean, having done that, I know it's great. We start Hull on the overnighter to Rotterdam, don't we? The overnight ferry, and then that's really even that's the start of the trip, isn't it? Just getting to know everyone and just spending time at the bar and, just getting friendly. It's always a good crack, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, is that, because there are other car clubs that the official start point of the tour is at the location. So somewhere in Switzerland, somewhere in France or whatever. And we kind of toyed between doing that and not doing it. And this year, I think we are having a few where the official start point is the first hotel. But there's something about the banter and the friendship element of doing the entire journey together, and that includes things like the ferry and stuff. So I don't know, I think we might continue with our tradition of we'll start in Hull and end in Hull, so to speak.
Who's ever said that before?
Yeah.
But it's a good trip.
And then that is the ferry over, and then Swiss Alps for the majority of the trip is Swiss Alps. But it touches on,
I mean, it's just incredible, isn't it? It is the scenery, and just have you done Switzerland?
Yeah, I've done a couple of trips, just a group of friends, and we've done the Alps and Dolomites, and we've done down the spine of Italy and Pyrenees and various other bits and pieces. Stunning. Some of the scenery and some of the banter, some of the memories you'll never forget, in terms of stopping there and just a bunch of blokes sat there just staring out at the scenery and just kind of like, wow, it's amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the Dolomites, because and then we've got our Dolomites tour.
That's it, the big
which is in mid-September.
Yeah.
It's not a bad link, that, was it?
I know.
So we've got, we're hoping to try and push it up to 4 groups, aren't we?
Yes.
We can. 3, potentially 4.
We have capacity
up,
for 4. It's got a lot of space, but still filling up. But if you do fancy a trip, definitely a once-in-a-lifetime trip to the Dolomites, it's a 7-nighter, up to 20 sports and supercars. And that's going to be a really special one, not only because of the area of the world, like, you know, you just said it's a really special place, but there's a lot of added extras we've got on this trip for the first time. So we've got car transportation. Particularly if you've got something that you're, you know, especially proud of in your garage and you don't want to add those commuting miles, you don't have to. You can transport it there and back and just do the best bits in your car. That being said, it doesn't matter what car you drive. Within SCUK, obviously, we're quite accommodating of the majority of sports and supercars, but it might be that you just want to save the time. You know, it's 2 days there and back to get there. So the car transportation element is great for that too. So that's a first for us. We're looking forward to us giving that a go. But yeah, that's definitely going to be a once in a lifetime sort of experience.
Definitely, yeah.
We'll be aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's plenty going off for car events, isn't there, as well?
Yeah, there is. So, I mean, this podcast, which is powered by our parent brand, if you want to call it, carevents.com. And, you know, that platform is here to advertise and promote and speak good of all car events that are going on. And this is looking like definitely the bounce back from COVID has been, is just year on year tremendous. I mean, I'm not saying it's linked to COVID, but it does feel like people were held back for 2 years and now everybody's at it, like trying to
really busy,
do the bigger and better events. So there's absolutely tons going on. Every single weekend on carevents.com, if you log onto the website and app, you can see really great events going on around the country. I
mean, we had the Animise podcast recently, didn't we? JPC.
Yes,
Paul from JPC. So you know that's looming, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We did. So we did Piston Head's Sunday service. That was at Mercedes-Benz World. We did that a few weeks ago. That was advertised on carevents.com, and that was a really great turnout. Some really special cars there. There was an SLR and a few other really special bits. But then Mercedes-Benz World is hosting the first Animise event of their calendar, which is the it's on the bank holiday. Bank holiday is the 6th. Yeah, it's on the 6th, Monday the 6th at Mercedes-Benz World, and that's Animise Live, hosted by Yanni. Looks like they've got lots of stuff going on track, and that looks like a really good one. And then you're getting into May and June, where you've got Supercar Fest, the runway.
It's always a highlight, isn't it?
It's definitely a highlight. You know, it's a supercar event, but as general petrol heads, who doesn't want to go and see the cars that they bring? They have the fantastic caliber of car goes.
They've got the track now as well going off as well, haven't they? Rather than just the runway. So
so they've got May is the runway, and then I think in July, I want to say 27th of July, I believe it is, they've got the track, and that's looking like first time there, but obviously they're bringing the power of Supercar Fest with them, and that's looking like a really, really good event as well. And then you've got Goodwood and all the other ones that are sort of around the same kind of time. So it's looking like a really, really strong calendar. And if you are looking for your next car event, shameless plug, go to carevents.com, because we do our best to have them all. We don't always get them all, but every time we come across one, if it hasn't already been listed by the organizer, we get it straight on there. So we really want to become the central place to find car events in your area.
And of course, we're here, aren't we?
We're here.
Motorist. At the Motorist.
Yeah.
Which hosts regular events, fantastic events. It's really grown, which is a nice little bridge into probably our guest today, Alec, isn't it?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us.
No problem at all.
Yeah. So we're very familiar with the venue. We do events here ourselves, but you've got something going on every weekend. And we started coming here in maybe, I want to say 2018.
I think it wasn't even tarmac.
And the first time I was here, it was a burger van on a trailer.
Yep, it was indeed.
Within a body shop.
Yep.
The second time I came, it was a little cafe that had just been built. And now we're here.
We got this,
sat in this incredible venue. So I know that you are pretty pretty good friends with the the Simon, one of the owners, the founders, or however you want to call him. So you shed a bit of light on how it started.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's been a journey with the Motorist, and I've sort of like watched it from afar before getting properly involved with the Motorist probably about 16 months ago now. But I've known the chairman through a common passion for cars and indeed doing European car trips, etc. for 12 or 13 years. But originally the Motorist was viewed by Simon, the chairman, as a potential site for making a spring factory. So he saw the site as being the potential, as I say, landmass to be able to build a spring factory.
So his background was in
Harrison Spinks beds, bed manufacturing, but also component spring manufacturing, so pocket spring manufacturing, basically supplying both the bed company, but also other upholstery, retail, Aston Martin, various car manufacturers, and other bits and pieces as well. So at the time, looking to expand the component side of the business, the spring manufacturing, and viewed this site as being a potential for it. For whatever reason, that didn't quite happen. And as you quite rightly say, it started out as a bit of a workshop and body shop doing some car restorations, a bit on his own portfolio. Put a burger van involved, people started to come, then more people started to come. Then all of a sudden, the initial dream was looking at sort of like top-end car storage. So some of the initial plans, having a look through, were to have sort of like top-end car storage with kind of like an area in the middle that you could valet the car and other bits and pieces. But also then have the on-site technical support in terms of servicing MOTs and various other bits and pieces. But the sort of like social aspect of it took off in terms of, one or two people coming, then car clubs coming, then 2 or 3, 4 or 5. Then, as you say, the Blue Train Cafe was opened, which was the other side of the other side of the workshop area. That then got busier and busier. The car restoration side of the business started to pick a bit of traction up. It became more than apparent that we needed to be able to do proper body shop work as opposed to other bits and pieces. So the Blue Train Cafe then became the body shop that is now. Then the food and beverage area moved into this area that we've got here that was opened in May 22, I think this was finally opened. So now we've got the 3 distinct areas of the business, as in the food and beverage side, the cafe area, and the Arnage and the meeting space that we've got. Together with the body shop and workshop, that we tend to do about 60% restoration work and older.
Have an eclectic mix coming in the body shop, I've seen when you drive around.
It's one of those jobs, having spent 35 years working in corporate hospitality, that it's the world's worst place to work for if you're into cars. Because you'll hear that my office is on the corner as you come into the building, and you hear something with a bit of a rumble or stuff, and it's I share the office with the company accountant who is not into cars, and go, "Oh, that's a V8 or that's a V6 or whatever." Jump up like a meerkat looking out the window. And
is he quoting CO2 emissions?
No. He's kind of like, he said, "Well, I had a Cavalier once, and I think that's about where it comes to." But yeah, it's and you hear of something starting up in the workshop, you've got to get out your office desk and out your office and go and have a look. And
definitely,
yes, it's a bit of a dream come true, really, in terms of having to dabble in hospitality and other bits and pieces, yet still have the area to look at in terms of cars and other bits and pieces. So
really what's kind of the split then, do you think, between the body shop now that obviously it was formed at and now the Arnage and obviously the merchandising area, the car scene? What would you see the split of the business is?
Well, we sort of like we got those 3 facets of the business. So we got the food and beverage side, the traditional hospitality side that is predominantly on a 7-day a week business, the cafe and the restaurant. We also do quite a lot of meeting spaces, in terms of, up here in Club Le Mans, but also Brooklands and Le Mans and Indianapolis, the other meeting space we get. We're getting reasonably well known or reasonably good in terms of doing host for car manufacturers and product launches and training sessions and other bits and pieces. So we had quite a lot of big names come through us. Also pop-up showrooms for product launches for, McLaren, Bentley, Volvo, Ford, various other bits and pieces as well, which is great for us.
We had Redline here recently, didn't we?
We've had Redline. That was a great event,
We had the Redline podcast we were talking about that the other week, weren't we? They were here. I think you had Jakupovic.
Yep. Yeah, we did.
James's.
We did indeed,
James's Ferrari downstairs,
didn't we? Yeah, the black matte black one, which was stunning, absolutely stunning. But yeah, we do a lot of work with Redline. They're good supporters of us in terms of what we do, and we do a lot of collaborative work with them. Got a few things lined up for the summer with them as well, and it just works really well for us in terms of what their profile is. I think the first or second Wednesday after Christmas, when it was -2 outside, they brought 4 cars up. We had 800 people here. It's crazy, which was good. Body shop, the workshop area has really, really matured quite nicely for us. So, I say it's roughly speaking about 60%, 40% in terms of older restorations, classical work, through to modern day servicing, etc. The body shop, we're sort of like, we've looked at the structure and how we do it, and we're going for less is more a little bit. So less sort of like scrapes, bumps, and other bits and pieces, but more full-term restorations and proper full resprays and recommissions, etc. And that's beginning to get a bit of traction now. We've had some beautiful stuff through there. From a couple of Rolls Royces, we've had a Ferrari F12. We've currently got a beautiful T21, I think it is, Alvis 1928 or something that's going through there, Tickford bodied, which I think is one of 5 in the UK. Beautiful Alpha Giulia that we had a full respray through, so as in a classic Alpha Giulia. So some really, really good interest. We've got a TR8 in there, a development TR8 in there at the moment, which is a stunning bit of kit, and how you can squeeze a V8 engine into that small engine compartment is beyond me, but they did it, and it sounds wonderful. It really does.
Yeah.
Then the merchandising, it's about 12 months since we put the shop in. That previous space was used as sort of like a glorified car sales room. Didn't really, for the amount of square meterage it was, didn't really contribute much from a revenue perspective, but added a bit of attraction as an interest to have 6 or 8 interesting cars there, but really didn't do a lot for us. So we decided to, go down the farm shop route, and, if it works for garden centres and farms, etc., why can't it work for us? The product and stuff we actually selling it has just changed immeasurably from, we've gone down the car valeting line in terms of the apparel is always big for us, that Motorist logo and the roundel and the Motorist. I think it was last year at the British Grand Prix, I had a friend that was there that took a picture, and he saw 2 people wearing Motorist hoodies. And, it just brought a tear to my eye seeing the brand out there. But it works really well for us, and it gives an additional attraction to come. So it's something else, sort of like use the analogy with my own family. My wife is, a long-suffering car nut wife, get the chance to be able to have a nice coffee and a cup of tea and look around and spend some money in the shop. It's all over her. Yet what thought of walking around for a couple of hours around a car park looking and talking to other people about cars is completely alien. So, it just tries and diversifies.
The flip side, of course, is worried about my wife walking into a shop that restricts my ability to go and buy the car that I want. She spends too much in the shop. I know. It depends what concept you look at or what side of the fence you're looking at that. For us, it's absolutely fine. And we make no bones about the fact that we put the Hot Wheels right by the entrance, so it just entices the kids in. My son loves it. My son loves it.
Yeah, indeed. But it works well for us.
And obviously the plot's huge, isn't it? So, I mean, like I say, when we first came here, we were bringing, 20 odd members maybe, if we did a push. We did a Christmas Eve meet, I think 3 years ago, and there might have been 10 or 11 turned up to that. But we were on the front, near the body shop. And this really wasn't formed as it is now. Yeah. And obviously, you've still got all of the area behind what's tarmacked at the minute. So, what are the plans for? What are you wanting to increase that footfall definitely. And that parking space? And
we will always. I mean, the whole sort of like DNA of the Motorist is how it formed. And as I was explaining earlier, it came about just kind of like like-minded people joining and enjoying social chat about cars. And that should never be taken away from what we are. We need to manage demand a little bit. We need to understand what we are. We need to, we're a commercial business. We need to make it commercially successful as well, but still very much holding on to the heart that we are a motoring venue for motoring enthusiasts. We have developed in terms of here, in terms of the site that we've got now out here, we've got various plans. We're going through the final plans and bits and pieces about putting a hotel on site. So the idea with that will be just make us a little bit more of a destination-based venue. It'll also open up other areas of the business that perhaps we've been a little bit restricted to at the moment. And we've got some absolutely fantastic plans, and it's sort of like a pit lane. Yeah. So it's white rendered, a bit Art Deco, but potentially with garages underneath. And some of the ideas are that the suites above would have a balcony with a glass panel in the floor looking down, so you can park your car underneath and have some visual aspect. So we've got some really really good ideas and some reasonably good feedback initially from our pre-negotiations or discussions, shall we say. We've got to go through hone the plans and go through the planning, but the idea is to get a hotel on site. Really work in terms of getting the commercials and everything working right for what we are, and then actively looking at venue 2, venue 3. I'd like a Motorist South, I'd like a Motorist Scotland, I'd like a Motorist West, you know what I mean? So, I think what we've got and what we're emerging here is something really quite special. And something that's a little bit unique in the marketplace. We are different to the other motoring venues. In some respects we got more, in some respects we got less, but space is an area. I mean, we can regularly get 800 cars here every weekend, which is fantastic. And Easter Sunday down here, I could have spent all day here, much to my wife's dismay. It's just lovely walking around and actually trying to be separate to working here, to actually enjoy the venue for what it is. And certainly did that. It was lovely to have the sun, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. We got very lucky this weekend, and it's become a long-standing, probably quite boring topic on this podcast of me moaning about the rain, because we had a tough year with it last year. But it really
impacts us, though. It impacts us here because, you look at, we started now, the clocks have come back opening on a Wednesday, Thursday and Friday evening. Wednesday night we held these bi-weekly quiz nights, which proved to be really, really successful. But we had a really good buoyant night on the Wednesday. Yesterday, of course, it chucked it down. It was like the Mary Celeste. There was nobody here. But who's going to want to bring their pride and joy of their car out for an evening if it's chucking it down with rain? So it can have quite a major commercial impact to us. But also just, I feel desperately sorry for the guys that do that come out, and there's not the same spectacle that we normally try and attract here. But hopefully a bit more continuity of dryness at least, and a bit of lighter evenings, and we can get back to the fun and vibrant place that we are of an evening.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I only live 20 minutes away, but the plans you've described for the hotel, I might end up staying here now and then a little bit more if they get over the line. I'd love to do that. So on the event side, I mentioned earlier, the events, it feels like the car events world has exploded post-COVID, and I'm not attributing that only to COVID, it's just the way the market is growing. It also feels like the car automotive venue side of things around the UK has done that. I feel really lucky that, like you say, the start of the Motorist was more just like-minded petrolheads. The start of our business was almost by accident in terms of like-minded petrolheads kind of coming together. You guys, I feel very privileged that you guys are so close to us and we can interact with this venue so regularly. But obviously the growth of this venue has been fantastic, and that's brilliant for us. But how has the growth been since you joined 16 months ago? What have been the challenges in terms of that? Because it's not, when 800 cars turn up, even if you've got space, it's not an easy thing to manage.
Yeah, I think, it's like any business. I think there are a couple of things. Consistency has been a massive, massive issue for us, and that's in terms of consistency of service, consistency of offer. Back in the early days when we were breaking ice, and we were, we weren't necessarily as consistent as we should do in terms of, food quality, service quality, and you're only ever as good in this game as your worst day. And you can be brilliant 4 days a week and then bad 3 days a week, but people will remember the bad. And, we did have some horrendous, 12, 18 months ago, queues in the cafe in terms of getting a bacon roll and other bits and pieces. So we've really worked as hard as we can in terms of trying to minimize that service disruption. I think we got a lot better at it. Certainly we're far more active in terms of timing queues. And, yes, on a busy Sunday, it can take 15 minutes to get a coffee on times, but not half an hour.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And you'll queue for that. But also getting the consistent service within the rest of the business as well. The other thing, it's so incredible. We are so seasonal and we are so weather dependent that, the forecast can be great as it is for this Saturday, and we'll staff up accordingly and everything else. And all of a sudden there'll be a thunderstorm or whatever, and it'll just decimate what potentially we can do. And of course, there is a commercial onerous on that in terms of staffing levels and other bits and pieces that we need to do. And I think also competition, but I think competition is a good thing.
I agree.
I think, there are various car venues or indeed pubs and restaurants and other bits and pieces that are doing coffee mornings and other bits and pieces of the car theme. But, you can incorporate their 2 or 3 venues within a day.
Absolutely.
I don't see it's a problem. I think it's more of an enticement to get people out in the car.
People just want the venues to go to give them the excuse for the drive. Otherwise, you're just going out for a drive to the same road you always drive on. I mean, I've found so many different venues. That's partly the reason I joined the club way back in 2019, because I just wanted to find other places to drive. with other people, but then it gets to a certain point where you kind of want a reason to go out, to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's what the Motorists ended up being for me.
Well, I think it is
a chain of different coffee venues, if you want.
But I don't think that's the problem. I think that's great. I mean, I enjoy cars myself. You know what I mean? I enjoy going out for a drive, and it's always that thing. You end up, for a breakfast here and your second breakfast there, and if you're pushing it, your third breakfast somewhere else. You know what I mean? But I think that works, and I think the other aspect that we've got to do is that we've got a responsibility to get our offer right. If we get our offer right and we get the right amount of people through, I'm adamant that I don't want us to become a charged for venue like other people and do a ticket price or whatever, because I think that would ruin the ethos of what the Motorist is, which was ultimately speaking like-minded people getting together and enjoying what they enthuse about, which is the cars. So we are fairly keen that one of our core identities is we don't want to charge. We do have occasions where we have takeover days with Porsche UK or whatever, where they're hiring our venue in essence and they charge, but that's not us. We don't look to charge. And I think that's an important venue. So, therefore, enticement. If somebody wants to come for a half an hour, have a coffee and a bacon roll, and then go somewhere else and come back later, absolutely cool by us. Absolutely cool by us.
Yeah, and we live in a nice area of the world in terms of roads, and there's other venues that you can make a day of it. And a bit of a spoiler alert, looks like carevents.com will be facilitating a day like that in the near future. So we'll be starting here, and then we'll be leading some probably Motorist members, because you've got various clubs available, and we'll hopefully be leading them on a drive through the Yorkshire countryside to other venues. So that's all I'll say on it at the moment, and then we'll release the details on that in a future podcast. But yeah, we're very, very lucky up here, especially,
and appreciative, because you've been with us on that journey as a club, from SCUK's perspective. Right from the start, you've always been accommodated and always been open, and always been welcoming. And it's it feels as though whenever we've asked for something or we've wanted a quirky request, and then obviously when Car Calendar was born and that was rebranded recently to Car Events, we've run multiple events, and it's been really successful, I think.
But I think it has to work, and it's mutual, isn't it? I mean, this is the thing about the collaborations, like I say, with Redline and others, but you guys are absolutely the epitome of it. That's, it's like we spoke to you guys about Good Friday, for example. Do you know what I mean? So, we knew we were going to be reasonably busy with the forward bookings and interest for Easter Saturday and Easter Sunday, certainly. But, just that ability to be able to say, look, come and use us. Yeah, come and go, because of course that added attraction then in terms of, and who doesn't? I mean, as I say, I was here Easter Sunday, and you get kids, my eldest son is now 16, so he's perhaps diversified a little bit in his car trends to what I can influence him on now. But you get some of the kids, and the beauty about true car enthusiasts is they like to enthuse about their cars, so they're interested in talking to people. And when you see somebody in a Lamborghini or a McLaren open the door and let a kid sit in, it just it warms your heart, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? And those are memories for the kids then that will go on and make them into what we are. Do you know, car heads, etc. So petrol heads, etc. So and there really is that embracing. People are willing to talk, people are willing to engage, people are willing to share. And I think that's really important.
Definitely, and even on if I come here on a Tuesday, and I'm not saying that I'm driving a supercar, but I spot some kids looking around the Mustang, and you think like you say, it's just wonderful to see them experience it and remind you that you are quite lucky in being part of this world.
Looking for your next car event, club, or venue? Find it with carevents.com. Discover thousands of upcoming events, car clubs, and car venues on the world's biggest car events platform. Search by location and radius, favorite your events, buy event tickets with these, and follow your favorite clubs and venues to be the first to hear about their upcoming events. For event organizers, you can list events, clubs, and venues free of charge, sell tickets directly in the app, and track the performance of your event. Available online and in your app store. Just search Car Events.
Moving on just a bit from the Motorist, outside in the car park is your lovely yellow Alfa.
Thank you.
What, in terms of your personal car journey as a petrol head, what have been a few highlights in that sort of journey? How did you start? Where are you currently?
I mean, it's going to be quite insular, singular, boring story. This, but I grew up in the motor trade. My parents had 2 garages in the West Country in Gloucestershire, Herefordshire way. So my family business, I suppose, was cars. So my father's passion was Jensen cars, Jensen Interceptors, etc. But he sold predominantly Fiats and Alfas. So the sort of like journey started, and the passion for Italiana started with growing up being surrounded by it, really. And I suppose I swayed much to my father's dismay and had a couple of VWs, a Mark 1 Golf GTI, Scirocco GTX, and a Polo GT, the supercharged GT40 one. Yeah. But very soon fell back into the Alfa Romeo and Fiat scene. And I suppose highlights, I had a 156 GTA Sport Wagon with that beautiful V6 Busso 3.2 litre
chrome
engine.
headers on them.
Just
incredible.
I mean, I don't know whether you looked at it and fell in love with it or heard it and fell in love with it, but it was just so evocative.
I presume in the red.
No, it's black.
Was it?
It was the sport wagon. It was the estate, and I think there is something quite cool about kind of like I love the RS6s and stuff, but there's certainly all the AMG, the C6. A sporty sleeper estate is quite cool in my mind. But I had a Barrera Spider. Clearly got the 4C now, which is had it since 2019, which is a ridiculous car in many, many ways, but I just can't help but fall in love with it every time I open the garage door.
I described it earlier as a Mini 296, didn't I? And then there were some kids looking around it.
I know, which is always quite great. But it's yes, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous car for a 53-year-old, a bright yellow Spider convertible. Do you know what I mean? But it's one of those things that it was a 50th birthday present to myself, and when I say to myself, it was a 50th birthday present that my wife very kindly allowed me to buy.
Right, okay. So I was going to say, is that how you sold it?
Well,
no, you said, no, this is something we can go on.
The story behind this, and, hopefully you'll find it amusing, but I had a Barrera Spider, one of the 159 Spiders, 3.2, which was a beautiful looking car, but in many ways quite a flawed. It was more of a GT car, not a sports car.
So it was on the 159 chassis, wasn't it?
Yeah, but slightly shortened, and it had the 3.2, but it had the GM 3.2 block rather than the Busso block, because that had been discontinued. So I love the car to look at, but it really wasn't a particularly rewarding driving it there. So I wanted to go and get a sports car, get something sporty, and I really like the 124R Braths. Really I like the sound of that. There's a true, honest little sports car. So went to look at one of those in the price range and other bits and pieces, and took it for a test drive, loved it. But there happened to be this stunning 4C Spider in yellow that was the dream car. So the wife goes, go and have a go. So I had to go. Immediately thought, I think she was kind of like thinking, well, you'll never get in and out of the bloody thing. Do you know what I mean? So therefore it'll quell the ambition and the desire to get one. But needless to say, I did manage to get in and out of it and absolutely enjoyed it. But I was about 15 grand light of budget, and I was desperate. I didn't want to particularly finance it or whatever. And I said, no, I can't do it. That'll be a dream for another day, sweetheart. Do you know what I mean? Doing the thing. She goes, no, come on, buy it. And I said, well, I can't. She goes, we saved some money for the kitchen at home to get some refurbishment work done. And she goes, spend that. And I said, you're joking, you can't. And she goes, I'm not going to tell you again, you can spend it. So that's
you don't need.
She wasn't going to be that's why. So she still affectionately calls the car the Yellow Kitchen.
She also didn't realise to what lengths and extent petrolheads will go to get in and out of a car that they can't.
No, absolutely.
They feel like they maybe can't fit into or whatever.
Absolutely.
To make sure that they have
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
There was no way. I mean, even now I've got to take the roof off and roll it back so I can step into it rather than get into it. But she does. She will come away for weekends in it, which is absolutely fine. Although she doesn't particularly like it. But she made me buy one of those hideous boot bag things for her. Which is it makes me cry.
There has to be an element of practicality with everything.
I know. And she complains when she's got to have the roof by her side on the front seat. It's just totally. But no, ever so grateful for her, bless her, to allow me to do it. But so that was 2019. What did she say? She said to me, as long as I can have first dibs on your next year's bonus from work. Yeah, absolutely no problem. And then COVID hit, so there was 2 or 3 years without any bonus. So anyhow, but thank you to her. So I think that's probably the highlight at the moment. And for me, certainly the keeper. I love the thing. Absolutely adoring.
Yeah, it's great looking.
Yeah, you don't see many on the road at all. And I was really surprised to hear, I think just last year I learned that they don't have power steering, do they?
No,
and it's such a true driver's car, which is
when you're trying to park the bloody thing, it does. It gives you a bit of weight. I mean, think the car actually dry weight is about, this is the other thing, is that I think the dry weight of the car is about 900 kilos, 895 kilos or something. And I quite often do trips with a friend of mine that is of similar physique, shall we say, to myself. And I think we worked it out by the time we get a tank of fuel and the bags in that we weigh about a third of the weight of the car. So, having some carbon tub lightweight sports car is completely...
How come this car as lightweight as possible and then forget about me?
Yes, exactly. But there we go.
It's all good until you're on a hairpin in the Alps and you need to make it round that corner.
Yeah.
So I think you told me previously and you mentioned earlier in this podcast as well that you've done quite a few road trips in that car. Any particular highlights?
Yeah, I think the first one I did in 2019 with it, and ironically enough, the road trips, I think, as I said earlier, was how I met the chairman and got to know Simon, the chairman. But the first one we did Portsmouth to Santander.
Okay.
We then drove across the top of northern Spain, did the Picos Europa, which if you ever get the chance, is just stunning. It's more based around bikers really, but the roads are just unbelievable. Crossed to Santiago, then down to Porto, and then we drove up the Jura Valley. So that was just absolutely epic. It really was. Last year we did what we called the Rioja Run, or the wine and cheese. So we again to Santander, and then we did the Rioja Run down the spine of the Pyrenees, and then up through the centre of France, which was pretty good. And then this year, really looking forward to, we're doing Slovenia.
Yeah, I remember you.
So I think that's going to be. So we're actually doing it slightly differently. We're doing 2 really, really long days, doing the same as you guys do, doing the Hull to Rotterdam ferry. And then 2 really long runs to get us into Slovenia. And then we've got 3 nights in one venue. And, some of the roads look absolutely stunning. The chairman and another guy that does the trip with us, a chap called James Grayson, they do endurance rallies. So in the Mark 1 Escort we've got downstairs, the Works rally car. And they did one trip, I think it was the Baltic Rally or one of the endurance rallies they did, and they came through Slovenia, and some of the roads and some of the scenery and some of the spectacles that they've experienced. So they were quite instrumental in terms of steering us towards Slovenia. We're all desperately looking forward to it.
We're all trying to find these hidden gems as petrolheads of where to go. I mean, it's brilliant going to places like the Alps, but year upon year they get that little bit busier and that little bit busier, and you're trying to find those hidden ones where they're completely empty. And I know Supercar Driver, I think I've done Croatia. I know that's definitely a popular one now, and their Slovenia and another ones look really, really enticing.
Well, when we come back, I'll tell you all about it, Mark, and then you never know, it might end up on your calendar as well. Yeah.
And where are you finding the routes from then? Is this just Simon in terms of where he's been rallying? Or
sometimes there's always somebody that's got a bit of inspiration, but I very much view this trip, and I've done it 13 years now, that, it's my chance to be able to, tell me what to pay, when to pay, and where to turn up, and, let everybody else organise.
I bet you would love the sound of that, wouldn't you, Mark?
Oh, I'd love it.
Actually leading on.
Bane of my life every year, this tour organising.
Yeah, well, it is one of those things. I just look at it, it's some of this, a good, I think 6 or 8 of the lads that started out 13 years ago are still doing it. So, we've become really good friends through it. And it really is a point to my way of thinking. I trust everybody that the spectacle and where we're staying and everything else is going to be fine. I spend so much of my professional life organising stuff that actually this, it literally is, and it gets so, I'm sure it does with you guys, where, some people will download bloody Google Maps or whatever it is and get really worked up if they can't. Just fine.
Yeah,
it'll be fine. Just tell me where we're going. If I get lost, I'll meet up with you.
Yeah, we never get that, do we, Mark?
Google Maps has been a gift and a curse for the last. I
remember last year it was there was about 3 of us that got off from the herd, and there were 2 lads that had this, and we'd ended up stopping for a coffee somewhere, and there was no mobile phone signal. And 2 of the lads were walking around with their phones trying to find out where everybody. The other of us, just we'll get there.
Yeah,
don't worry about it. Do you know what I mean? Enjoy it. Look where we are.
Yeah,
but
it is an interesting part of the whole tour sort of element, and especially with us when we're taking maybe 15 or 20 cars. As organisers, I don't think that maybe some attendees probably appreciate how stressed we actually do get and feel trying to keep everybody together. We feel a real obligation although we're not responsible for traffic lights and wrong junctions and all that comes with it. But we do feel a real obligation, and we don't always get it right, because if you're at the front of a convoy of 15 cars, you can't see the back car. Therefore, you don't know if they're split up or not.
It can spread sometimes as a mile and a half. Depending on the traffic. You've got that many cars. So you can be around 3 hairpins, 4 hairpins. You're not going to see.
What the lovely thing is, and I'm sure you guys get it as well, is if it does get a bit disjointed, or you're going through a town or whatever, and you kind of like pull up, and then you put on WhatsApp or whatever when you pulled up, you just stand there and listen, and those that have a cigarette, or you get drink out, whatever, you just start to hear. You start to hear as the rest of the pack catch up. It's just so evocative. It really is.
It is. And I would actually say that some of my most memorable experiences from our tours have been when actually we've ended up by accident in a group of 2, 3 or 4. And you've got that little bit more breathing space to not worry about the organizational element of keeping everyone together, and you just go for it for 10 minutes. And we've had some really, really awesome moments, and I know you have as well.
Absolutely,
like following Hinesh in Scotland and stuff like that.
Well, I don't know what. I wasn't following Hinesh. Let's be honest. Hinesh was behind me, and I was thinking I was doing really well, because Hinesh in his brand new 296, and I just got the Alpine, and I was thinking this picks up really well, because I was leaving Hinesh behind. Until I realised that Hinesh was probably eating a sandwich. Or like
still in electric mode.
He just got his foot off the accelerator, because then he went past me at warp factor 9, and then I tried to follow him for about 13 feet.
That car's something
unsuccessfully.
It's an incredible car, that car. So Little Birdie told me that Simon, the chairman, may have a few nice cars here and there. I won't get you through to run through the whole list, but you being one of his friends, any particular highlights of yours in his collection?
Lots, sadly. I mean, Simon, as you know, was meant to be here today, but unfortunately can't be with us. But he's in a very position where it's funny, we were talking last night. Met him last night, and we were talking about the top 3 cars and other bits and pieces, and it's got to be the V12 Vantage manual Roadster. That's got to be on there. That's got to be okay. And I'm thinking, right, okay. And there he goes. Definitely. Then a Mark 1 Mexico or rally car or RS 1600 or whatever. I was thinking, okay. And there he goes. The Alvis 1250, and I was thinking, right, you've got the V12 Vantage. You've got certainly one works rally car Mexico plus another, and God knows how many Alvis 1250s he's got. But he's Alvis and Aston are the Alvis, Aston and fast forwards are his passion, and he's in a position where he scratched the itch and done it. But no, he's got an amazing car collection. He really has. But the thing is about how he uses the cars. I mean, he's rebuilt an Alvis 1250 and, literally rebuilt it from chassis upwards. There are three of him and two others that have built a similar spec car, and they're looking to do an old timers tour in them. And I think they'll need a recovery vehicle. But he's still got his very first Dunton kit car that he had when he was 17 and built. You know what I mean? So he's got a great car collection, and but they are all used. Hopefully,
good event. I get the car collector meet.
Get
car collectors to bring the full car collection down. Just have 2 or 3 car collectors bringing all the collection down.
But he's it's funny. I was talking to Simon, and he was saying about his because of course it's family bad makers ostensibly, and his passion. We've got this I think it's T21 Alvis, the tip for body Alvis that we're getting recommissioned in the body shop at the moment, and his first memory or first kind of like excitement about cars was it was his grandfather's car, and he was sat, and his grandfather used to let him change gear in it and other bits and pieces, and that clearly evoked that passion for cars that has seen him through into later life and everything else. But he enjoys his cars.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to hear it. Man after my own heart.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned the Dream 3 car garage. Just to end the podcast, I've got 2 questions for you. The first one is, obviously you've been here, it's about 16 months, 18 months, something like that. Has there been a single car that's been your favourite car that's come through the doors of the Motorist? Would you be able to pick one? And I'm putting you on the spot here. Putting you on the spot. But you get a lot of special stuff turning up there every single day.
We do. And I think I mean, there is so much. The trouble is with cars, and it's very difficult when you say about the 3-car garage, because, do you go Exotica? Do you go off-field? What do you do, etc.? I'm not sure. But, I think we had a Stratos that was here, that was Lancia Stratos that was here, that was not, it was a Stratos, you could tell by the panel fits and everything else.
Yeah.
But that was just to me, was just the absolute epitome of everything that's beautiful about cars. Well, maybe not, because my 3-car garage has got something that's better, but there we go. but what I've seen here, it was just gorgeous. I could have stared at that car for hours.
So go on then, 3-car garage. What would be your top dream top 3?
So, I think without question, it is going to be slightly biased here, but I think just in terms of ultimate coolness, and it would have to be a Alfa Romeo Spider Duetto.
Okay.
67, 68, the boat tail one, the graduate one.
Very nice.
I just drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's cool. Do you know what I mean? Forget Dustin Hoffman and the graduate, but the car is just uber cool. I think for the daily, I'd probably go for like the fast estate. So, a RS6 Avante or something, or
that was my choice. I think it's really hard to just to find something else other than that.
There is something just uber cool about a kind of like performance estate.
Yeah,
really like the new M3.
Yeah.
There was one out here recently, and I looked twice at it.
Yeah. And I think that is me trying not to say a Giulia Quadrifoglio N-Ring, by the way. But, they don't do an estate version, so probably the RS6 Avante, which I think is just what a car. What a car. But I think Exotica wise, and I'm going a bit stereotypical here, but I don't know if you guys are aware, but the I think it's 67, 68, the Tipo 33 Stradale.
That's the new supercar.
They've done the new Alpha supercar, but the original one, the Tipo was the race version, but the 33 Stradale.
Okay.
The curves and swoops and body lines and everything. I mean, it is without question in my mind the most beautiful car ever made. Similar sort of time to the Lamborghini Miura, but it was half the weight, half the capacity, same performance. Just stunning. I think it was Scaglione, the designer. But just. If you get the chance, just Google Tipo 33 Stradale, the 60s version. I mean, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning.
Similar to the James Bond. I don't know if you've noticed or heard that apparently there's a new James Bond coming out, and they've commissioned Aston Martin to remake the DB4 Zagato.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Which is a similar curve shape. So if anyone's never seen one of those, check that out. Because
the minute you say Zagato, it's going to...
Just incredible.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get Harry to put a few photos of those cars on screen during this podcast.
Oh, just and drool over the 33 Stradale.
I don't know. You mentioned the M3 Touring, and I don't know. Like, I feel like more and more now that new cars come out, and at first I think, God, that's an ugly car. I do not like that at all. And I think it was particularly with the new M3 when that grille first came out, and now I'm almost annoyed that I like it. Part of me is I see it and I'm like, for God's sake, I like it now, and I hated it for so long, but look, that is beautiful. And it's weird how do I like that car because I've seen it so much that I'm just getting used to it.
Maybe you like it because people have stopped talking about the fact how much
maybe
originally hated it.
Maybe.
But I think isn't it somebody was telling me, whether it's true or not, it might be just myth, that so many legends come out of myth, but somebody was saying that the grille factor from the BMW was built specifically for the Chinese market.
Right, okay. Because
in China, having like the Rolls-Royce grille, the big grille, etc., is an element of opulence and quality. But I agree. I think it we had here, I think it was over the weekend, we had a CSL. We had two basically BMWs.
Yeah.
One with the big kind of like shark mouth grille, and the other one that was a bit more squared. To me, to look at, the other one was just gorgeous. The other way, it's quite striking. It's great, but I think you do grow on it and you do become to love them, don't you?
I agree with you in that the previous gen M3, I think, like, such a perfect car. They nailed that one, and it was beautiful from day one. I'm torn as to what is the reason why I all of a sudden like it. Is it because it's been out for a while? Were the designers actually more ahead of the curve than I realised? I don't know. You just don't know, do you? But
to look at, Mark, would you have an M3 or would you have a Giulia Quadrifoglio?
Oh, it would definitely be the Giulia.
Good man.
But that is, in its own right, that is an incredible car. And one thing that Alfa does is make beautiful cars pretty consistently, isn't it? Like they do. they do nail that every time.
I'm biased, but I totally agree. It's just, I think in our current car portfolio, my wife drives a Mercedes, and she often says that she goes, I drive a Mercedes, so at least one car will start in the morning.
Yeah, but I'm a big believer in character. And I've always said that
that's a good job you are. You went from a Mustang to a French car. You went from bad to bad.
Exactly, yeah. But you never remember that you always, well, let me rephrase that. You always remember the characters in life.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah.
You meet a person who you realise is a character. They might be flawed.
Yeah.
You might have had a falling out with them in the past, but you've come back to them.
Yeah.
They might be just a bit quirky or a bit eccentric, but boy, do you remember them, don't you? And I always think that's a bit like cars.
I had a friend who, and I always tongue in cheek because I think they're absolutely amazing. But the majority of cars that go on the trip will be Boxsters because they're the perfect trip car. A friend of mine who had, I think it was a GTS Boxer, I don't know what level or whatever, but I always found it quite amazing to drive, a fantastic car, but just a little bit sterile. So anyhow, he'd sold it for long, and he sold it to somebody down in the southeast. And at the moment before we'd recommuted, so I drove the car home, and I was okay. It got a fault on the hood and the rear spoiler, and all of a sudden it had a few warning lights. And I don't know why, but I began to love the car more. Do you know what I mean? It seemed to emerge with a little bit of character that it never had before,
Yeah.
And I told him this story, and he said, well, that's because you drive Alfa Romeos. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. But it did. It became a bit more personable.
I felt like that until mine kept having issues on drive outs, and I'm the lead car, and
then
I'm like,
you started swearing at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the car's fault, was it?
how can I pull over 25 cars and say, please just wait a minute? It's not easy pulling that amount over.
Well, it comes to something with that, with the 4C. Sorry, I'm digressing, but the 4C, it's it has like the brake pedal has like a plastic washer that it runs through, and if the car gets too hot, it slightly swells and the brake slightly sticks. Okay, and of course, it's ridiculous that you buy a car this day and age. I mean, it's 2016 car, whatever it is, that kind of like anything above 28 degrees, you've got to get your toe and click the brake pedal back.
Yeah.
So it's been back to Alpha. No, nothing can be done. Of course, it never does. So, you just realise that actually you just keep the air conditioning on all the time, and then you're absolutely fine. Do you know what I mean? But,
it cools the interior.
Because it cools the interior, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think we said this on a few podcasts ago, but it's relevant again to this, but I think we are very willing to forgive a lot of a car's flaws because of the perks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, you're mentioning an issue like that, but in 2024, who would think that you'd be still spending 150 grand plus on a McLaren and it corrodes? But the car is so incredibly good that nobody really cares.
Yeah.
All right, it's an inconvenience, but they don't really care. It is what it is. We're especially petrol heads. It's
but I suppose it's like anything, isn't it? You almost come to embrace and love the character and the flaws and everything else about the car.
Yeah, over
and above what it actually is. It actually adds to it in a weird sort of way.
Definitely, it does. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing what your next car is, but I hope it'll be equally unreliable.
It will be, definitely.
Nothing wrong with the Alpines. They're lovely. Pretty car, beautiful car.
Yeah, they are.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, you guys for your support of the Motorist as well. It is gratefully appreciated, and we love to host you guys because you're a good bunch of guys, number one. But there's always something amazing that's in the car park that you bring along, which is great.
No, thank you, and we feel super lucky. And I think I speak for petrol heads across North Yorkshire and beyond that it's the venue has arrived at a perfect time when you're already aware of I'm not comparing you to other venues, but when you're already aware of well-established venues, particularly in the south, who have got obviously an incredible weekend atmosphere, and they're a destination for petrol heads. And for a long time, I think we were definitely lacking that up here.
Definitely.
So I feel very lucky as a petrol head to have the venue, a venue of this scale and ambition here, but also B, the fact that we've almost stumbled into this world of being an automotive business and having something so close by that we can use as our...
And got the relationship with you.
Yeah,
no,
we can use our podcast studio,
if it
our
works
office.
If it works well and works well, I mean, it's great. Yeah, it's good. Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you everyone for watching, and make sure you click that subscribe button, and also keep an eye on the DriveLife and Caravent socials, because the next podcast might include something a little bit special as well. So thank you, and catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
Looking for your next car event, club, or venue? Find it with carevents.com. Discover thousands of upcoming events, car clubs, and car venues on the world's biggest car events platform. Search by location and radius, favorite your events, buy event tickets with these, and follow your favorite clubs and venues to be the first to hear about their upcoming events. For event organizers, you can list events, clubs, and venues free of charge, sell tickets directly in the app, and track the performance of your event. Available online and in your app store. Just search Car Events.